A cold winter's day here in Wesel, Germany, and I have my trusty Vivo X300 Pro with me and want to show you what raw lighting is all about. It's a new option that we have here. But before we start, I show you the version that I have this bad boy running in, because I always forget to put the version number in there. Sometimes I put it in the description, but here you now have it in the video. So this is the brand new version that I have installed here that has some camera updates, and we want to try out this raw lighting. So we go into our camera application, and what we can do here by swiping down, actually we have to go up here, is turn on raw lighting, and this will change the lighting for more authentic results. It has some more options that it will do, and we will discuss this here in this video. So I will take some shots now with raw lighting and without raw lighting, or the other way around, and we check them out side by side. So let's get started. We start off with portrait shot without using the portrait mode, because obviously the portrait mode doesn't have this raw lighting feature. But if you want to use your 85mm for portrait shots, I highly recommend using the raw lighting feature if you don't forget it, because what it does is giving you more natural skin tone. Which one is which? I will reveal it to you, and I will always blend it in so you know it now. So on the left we have raw lighting disabled, on the right we have raw lighting enabled. Do you see much of a difference? A little bit with the overblown highlights here on the left that are a bit tuned down here on the normal picture. When we go in, however, you see another thing that is very apparent: sharpening. Because the raw lighting is basically disabling HDR and disabling the processing of multiple images that are combined to one image, we get a softer image on the raw lighting shot. So it reminds me a lot of the Vivo X100 Ultra HDR on and off that someone discovered, and I tested it out as well very, very much, with a few things that have been added, like the stacking of images and the sharpening especially, that I noticed is way more reduced on the raw lighting shot. You can see it here, you can see it in the shadows, you can see it in the hair, and how much more sharpened it up is looking, even a little bit over sharpened, especially the little hair strains on the one shot without raw lighting. And in this shot with the ultra wide angle, it becomes also evident. HDR is one thing, so where it is trying to make everything a little bit flatter or highlights not overexposed. The other thing is the sharpening. And the ultra wide angle, I told you already when I was doing my first test, has a lot of sharpening applied. And it becomes evident that the raw lighting shot has way less sharpening applied. And I think it has something to do with the stacking. Again, you can see that here we have a little bit more, it appears more details, but actually it's just sharpening and the stacking of images probably that is like trying to sharpen things up, where the raw lighting is not doing so much. You can see it also with the text here, much more natural looking here on the raw lighting shot. And the greenery, the foliage here, you can also see it has a bit of like more natural kind of vibe. Not everything so sharpened up, and especially in the branches of the tree, you see how much sharpening, how much artificial it looks like on the normal shot, where with raw lighting you don't have this. And this is something that you can see also in this shot, 10x shot. But here I think it becomes evident that raw lighting is not always the answer. I was trying to photograph this bird here, and what I got with raw lighting shot is this here. What I got with the normal shot is this here, where it does image stacking and so on, and does a little bit of AI. Way more refined feathers here of this bird. Yes, it is a bit edited, and you see the green grass there in the background, more refined as well, where the raw lighting shot has less of it. It looks a little bit worse. And the same goes for the tree, for example. All the little shadows and details, it figured it out by stacking images, multiple images together, where the raw lighting shot probably is taking only one shot, maybe two shots, doesn't have so much detail here, and you can clearly see it and it looks uglier. Faces. People shots, however, I tend to like more with raw lighting. Why is that the case? The shadows, first of all. Look at the shadows. Very similar. Very hard to tell apart, but they are a bit darker on the normal shot, where the raw lighting shot is a tiny bit brighter. Detail levels, however, way more on the normal shot, because it does this image stacking, it does this AI processing, where the raw lighting shot doesn't do this. And yeah, I look a bit softer for sure, maybe more natural on the raw lighting shot, but this is something for you to decide. Both are doing a fine job there, I would say. Just appears to be sharper on the normal shot in comparison to the raw lighting shot. The shot with the normal camera sensor, you can also see again foliage difference here with the green grass, or not green grass, with the greenery here. Much more natural, much more softer looking on the raw lighting shot, where much more defined, much more differences that you can see between those here. But also, especially when you go to the finer details like the trees, I would say it's looking uglier. So where here I would say it is debatable if you like the normal shot because it appears to have more detail. But as soon as you go to the trees, and especially here, it becomes very evident that it's sharpening things up, it is stacking images, and it's looking a bit ugly. Where here it is much more natural looking because it doesn't have this ugly sharpening applied. And the same goes for some texts where you see it is a bit clearer on the normal shot because it does this image stacking and sharpening that we don't have with the raw lighting shot, where it looks a bit more camera-like. So you have this option now where you can choose, and this is something that you have to choose wisely because not always it is working nicely. Here, however, I think I see also on this ultra-wide angle shot a bit of a white balance difference. Taking with the same kind of settings, nothing has changed here. It appears to be a bit warmer with the raw lighting shot, where it appears a bit colder on the normal shot. So maybe it is white balance correction that the normal shot does. However, the normal shot, again, it's a bit over sharpened. It's tried to add more details in there that it didn't really capture, as you see with the raw lighting shot. And this is something that makes it sometimes a bit artificial looking there. But you are the judge here, which one you like better, the raw lighting shot or the normal shot. In this case, it is neck to neck, very hard. It's just like towards the edges where you can see it's a bit over sharpened. It's also doing this, but it's a bit softer overall, where I like this shot with raw lighting a bit more. This one here also very evident with the text. It's much darker, the reds here, because it does image stacking and sharpening things up. That does create a bit more contrast and does also punch a bit of the colors because, yeah, you stack them on top of each other. So the image appears to be sharper, but it actually isn't, which is quite interesting, no? And especially here also looks more like a normal shot on the right. On the left, it's just a bit too sharpened up, too over-processed, overcooked looking. So if you like a bit more natural looking softness in your pictures, the raw lighting shot is definitely something that you want. And especially when it comes to buildings that you want to photograph, I think here it makes a lot of sense and reminds me also in my comparison with the Oppo, more the way that Oppo is going and keeping a bit softer, especially when you photograph buildings and statues and so on, where the Vivo's default is over sharpening a lot, and with the contrasty kind of look makes it look artificial, where it's much better on the right than on the left, in my opinion. But it is a matter of taste. This is why Vivo is providing you with the option to disable it or enable it. But I'm tending towards enabling raw lighting because I like the shots a bit better, especially here. The family that is like walking there, or the people that are walking there. Look how over sharpened, over processed they look on the left. And look how more natural they look like on the right. And the same goes for foliage again. Look how over-processed, overcooked, over-sharpened it looks like, and how it could look like in raw lighting. It's an easy win. The same goes for the text there, that is just over-sharpened on the normal shot. One aspect, however, is on longer zooms. This is 20x. Which one do you trust more? The a bit of more over-processing that provides you with a bit of more details, or the raw lighting shot that doesn't do so much of processing? At 20x, it's neck to neck, I would say. You see a bit of the processing and over-processing, trying to add details that are not really there, where I like the non-processed shot a little bit better because it's just taking the shot immediately and doesn't do any processing or much processing there. But you get a little bit reduced details for sure, especially when you go and check out here. And it's also doing clearly processing, but it's just like looking a bit more natural thanks to the stacking that it does as well. And the more you zoom in, the more it becomes apparent here. This is 30 times zoom on both. And there it is very clearly visible that the stacking is helping, the non-raw lighting shot is helping for sure with the images here. And then we come to macro photography, because yes, believe it or not, macro photography shows the same as the normal shot. It's over sharpening a lot in macro mode, so you can see those little details there on this Christmas ball. And here you can also still see it, but without so much processing there. You see me here in the reflection taking the shot. So I can get very close. Which one you prefer? I have to say, and I said it also when I was checking out macro shots with Huawei phones, they tend to over-process at macro shots, not only at macro shots, but at macro shots especially. I tend to like this more over-processed macro shots, as long as they don't go over the top, because a bit more sharpness helps with the effect of the macro. The details that you want to point out, because every little detail matters there. So here I like the left shot a bit better than the right shot, but the right shot is a bit more creamier for sure. And then we come to night, because believe it or not, nighttime is also very important. And I noticed that already with HDR on and off tests on the X100 Ultra back in the day, that we still have the same kind of issue here. If you enable raw lighting shot, you disable night processing completely. So not completely, but you don't have this like wait for a few seconds to take the shot kind of thing. And with the main camera sensor, it becomes apparent that it's then non-HDR-y and non-stacking of images, because it's completely overblown there. And if you compare it with the normal shot, you can see it's also a bit overblown. You cannot see the QR codes and the text in here, but at least you can see the logo there somehow. And look at the wall here, compare it with here. Yeah, there's some processing going on, and that helps, I would say, to make things clearer at night. So where at daylight I would usually prefer the raw lighting shot, at nighttime it becomes evident that without the whole processing and pipeline and sticking stuff together, the shot is falling apart very quickly. Even with the main camera sensor, I was surprised how bad the picture comes out, how soft it comes out. Really here, look at this and look at that. Really a huge difference with raw lighting enabled, where I would prefer the normal shot. And the more you zoom in, for example, it becomes more evident, especially in those situations here. Both don't do a good job, but it's clearly overblown. It's clearly not much details there. And I like the way that it tries to process those lights here. It's not doing a good job for sure, but it's better than what you get with raw lighting enabled. And this shot, however, is something where I actually, even though it both don't really look realistic, the left one is a bit more realistic than the right one on first glance. The right one, however, the raw lighting shot, gives a bit more moody kind of shot, because it was raining a bit, and then with the overblown kind of light there, it creates a nice effect there. And you can see clearly the rain there. Where the over-processed, or let's say the normal processed shots, it's trying to stick everything together, trying to get the lights tuned down a little bit. It is, yeah, over-processed looking and doesn't look so good, especially when you zoom in so much. Where I like this kind of moody shot a little bit better, but you can also clearly see what it's doing there with raw lighting disabled or with the normal shot there in terms of processing. So overall, like I said, daylight, raw lighting, I like a little bit better, especially for people shots, because they don't tend not to come out over sharpened and the colors are a little bit more correct. I don't like that it doesn't have so much HDR there, which might be an issue at summertime when you want to photograph someone, yeah, standing in a way where you have to photograph them against the sun, for example, then it might become an issue. Otherwise, it is a clear win for me to get more natural kind of shots. They remind me a lot of the way how Oppo, for example, processes shots by default or in the master mode. It also doesn't have so much of those processing going on. At nighttime, however, most of the time you're better off not touching raw lighting, have it turned off, and just rely on image stacking that provides you with better, cleaner pictures, even if you don't zoom in. Sometimes, like in this situation, maybe you want to try out enabling raw lighting to see what kind of effect you can get, but most of the time you're better off without it. So this is my conclusion, my analysis of raw lighting. Do you or did you notice anything else that raw lighting is doing that is a tremendous win for enabling it? Write it down in the comment section. That's it. Until the next time. Bye.